primary ignition.
Welcome to Unlimited Power. My name is D-Rod, and here's my Twilight of the Republic pre-release guide for Yoda, one of the newest leaders in the set that is going to be dropping for pre-release as early as November 1st, and then with the official release November 8th. So to prep everyone for that event, I'm going to talk about the commons and uncommons that you can find within the set that are going to be really helpful in your own deck building. Now, these are going to be things that I think pair well with Yoda and their abilities. Yes, there are going to be a lot of rares and legendaries that can really make Yoda more efficient, but we want to focus on cards that you're more likely going to see out of the 6-packs in your pre-release kit. So commons and uncommons and a few rares. There are definitely going to be some other cards in here that will do well with Yoda that I'm not going to mention just for time, but this should give you a good idea of what Yoda is doing. Let's go ahead and take a look at him as a leader and a leader unit, and then we'll take a look at the cards for each aspect that fit with Yoda's abilities. Now, as a leader, Yoda has an ability to take an action and exhaust himself. And he can do this if a unit left play this phase, any unit, yours or your opponent's, and you can draw a card. Then put a card from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck. I really like draw mechanics in games. There is a condition here that something has to leave play. So as long as you are playing aggressive against your opponent, or if you're playing a little more setup and using the exploit ability found within this set, which we can talk about later, then you are going to be able to trigger Yoda's ability. Drawing a card is effective, and the ability to essentially put one out of your hand on the bottom of your deck or on top, I think is really neat. This gives you a little bit more variety. You're getting a card and then you're putting another one away because you know you don't need it now again or in this game, or you're just putting it on the top of your deck so you can acquire it later. This can also help with other mechanics from other cards in previous sets. Now, as an epic action, Yoda deploys when you have 7 or more resources, which means you can do this as early as turn 6. You should have him flip, usually on that turn, and he's going to be a 4/9. Stat wise, that's really, really good in this set. Very few things are going to be able to take him out that easily with 9 health. Now, he has a Restore 2 ability and a When Deployed ability. So, when you deploy him from the leader zone, you may discard a card from your deck. If you do, defeat an enemy non leader unit that costs the same as or less than the discarded card. So I like this. Now, when you discard a card, you're discarding a card from the top of your deck. With Yoda, you can set this up ideally to what you need it to be to defeat a certain unit. So make sure you're paying attention to whatever it is you want to put on top the turn you deploy Yoda, which would be as early as turn 6. Now let's take a look at cards within Yoda's aspect. The blue-white heroic vigilance here. One of the first cards we're going to look at is Captain Typho. Right out of episode, Captain Typho is a 3-cost ground unit. That's a 2/4. He is a Republic trooper from Naboo and has a Wind Blade and on attack ability that says give a unit Sentinel for the phase. Now, I really like using Sentinel here. Yoda takes a while to get out. Remember, you can deploy him as early as turn 6 unless you're using some ramp abilities from the command color. So using Captain Typho to set up a couple of defenses for you isn't a bad idea. Blue-white has a lot of healing and a lot of Sentinel. Make it work for you. This will also help you eliminate a unit from play, whether it's yours or your opponent, by them slamming into a Sentinel unit that will either need to die because they've lost a certain amount of health, or it will hopefully kill another unit in play. Hello There is a great one. Choose a unit that entered play this phase. It gets -4/-4 for the phase. This is pretty much a great removal event. It is conditional. You can only play it if a unit entered play this phase. It has to be on that unit specifically. But this can take out of a lot of those key units, especially one that may have been exploited in. Next is Outspoken Representative, a 2-cost ground unit that's a 0/4. It is a Republic official that says as long as you control another Republic unit, it gains Sentinel, and when it dies, it creates a Trooper token. You're okay with some of your units dying to trigger Yoda's ability, and creating a token is a great result. So this card should buy you a little bit of time in the ground arena, get you a reward for it dying, withdrawing a card from Yoda, and giving you a Clone Trooper token. Moving on to more vigilance cards, the Vulture Interceptor Wing. Yes, in sealed competition like this, where you just have packs, you're going to end up playing a lot of cards that may not be thematic to Yoda. One of them going to be the Interceptor Wing here. A Separatist droid fighter that is a space unit for 4. It's a 3/3 unit, so stat wise, I'm not a big fan of paying 4 for a 3/3, but it does have a great on attack ability in this format. The ability, since you're going to give an enemy unit -1/-1 for the phase, this could kill a lot of those tokens out there or a unit that has only 1 health remaining. With Yoda, you do want to see something die every turn and draw a card, so I think a card like this can be really good, if not, and as well as a little situational. Next is Vanquish. We're familiar with Vanquish from set 1, just a 5-cost event that can defeat any non-leader unit in play. And next is the Duchess's Champion. If you're playing blue and you end up going double blue, the Champions is a solid choice here. As long as your opponent has 3 or more units than you, it's going to have Sentinel. And it's a 1/8 unit with Sentinel, so that's going to be a hard one for them to defeat, buying you the time you need to get Yoda out. Speaking of buying time, Command Aspect is going to help you do this. Now, there are a lot of cards here that you can use. I think the Command Aspect is really versatile this set, but these are 3 I want to focus on a lot. Clone Commander Cody is going to be my #1 pick. I love Clone Commander Cody at a 5. He's a 4/4 unit for 5 with Overwhelm. I enjoy things like that. He also gives you the coordinate ability that says as long as you have 3 or more units, you can get whatever the reward is. In this instance, it's going to give all your units +1/+1 and overwhelm. If you end up going with a wide strategy and putting out a lot of clones or clone tokens or droid tokens, the overwhelm ability and +1/+1 really add up. But Clone Commander Cody is just a threat on his own. That overwhelm is going to make him a big target, and it may get you some really strong games or strong turns when your units can attack with that ability. Coruscant Guard is another coordinate clone trooper, but this one has ambush and only costs you 2. You may not be playing this on turn 1, but you can. A 2 cost 3/2 isn't bad, but having that backup ambush ability can be really solid in the right turn. Next is Republic Tactical Officer. You're going to be playing a lot of Republic units, and if anything, this is a great one to even use with Yoda. It's not bad late in the game because it has the ability of letting you attack with a Republic unit when it's played and buffing its attack by 2. This is very similar to Fleet Lieutenant or Snowtrooper Lieutenant that we saw in set 1. I also think just a 2-drop that's a 1/4 is a good stat line. Yes, he only has one ability. That triggers when he comes into play, but this could really make a difference in your game. And the aggression aspect, I feel like there's some cards that are just going to be really key in sealed. And these 3, I just think they're hard to get away from because they're so good at what they're doing in this format. The first one's going to be the Heavy Persuader tank, a 7 cost 6/5 with exploit 2. Exploit allows you to defeat up to a certain amount of units, whatever the number value is, that you control, to lower the cost of the card by 2. So Heavy Persuader tank can cost you 3 resources. And if you can pay 3 resources for a 6/5, that's good. If you can do that for a 6/5 that has an on play ability like this one, even better. It has the ability to 2 damage to a ground unit. In this format, your opponent will probably have a droid token or a clone trooper token in play for you to kill. So there's a lot of value in here. Now, are you losing a couple of units? Yes. So be wise in the units you want to exploit. This isn't a heavy exploit deck, but there are just some cards that are worth considering. The next is Heavy. Heavy is a ground unit that costs 4 and he's a 4/4. I dig that. I really like that a lot of the unique units we saw in the Clone Wars have some similar styles like this. Like 5s is all 5s, Heavy is all 4s. But Heavy gives you the coordinate ability of Raid 2. As long as you have 3 units in play, he's a 6/4 with a defeat ability that says deal 1 damage to each enemy ground unit. Again, in this format, you may run into someone going a little bit wider with their tokens. That 1 damage can really make a difference. Next is Grenade Strike. Deal 2 damage to a unit and 1 damage to another unit in the same arena. Removal is going to be key because you never know what your opponent is trying to do in this format. They probably have an exploit card just like you. So removing the smaller units in play can slow them down and make them feel stuck with the card they have in hand. That's not going to come out for a couple more turns. The aggression aspect has a lot of versatility, just like command. But again, these are the cards I think that just work really well if you're going red. For Cunning, the first card I want to talk about is Clear the Field. Similar to what we were talking about with aggression, your opponent's probably going to have a lot of tokens in this format. So Clear the Field seems like a card you want to play if you're running hero. You choose a non-leader unit that costs 3 or less, return it and each enemy non-leader unit with the same name as it to their owner's hand. Okay. The cost of tokens, token units, is 0. So by returning them to their hand, they essentially fizzle out. It's no different than when you try to return an upgrade to an opponent's hand. If it's a shield upgrade or a +1/+1 experience upgrade, it's just going to disappear. So you can get rid of a lot of tokens on your opponent's side by simply paying this 2-cost card. Next is Hidden Sharpshooter. This is a solid ambush card if you end up going Cunning. It's for 4 with a 4/3 ambush. The 4 can take care of a lot of units, can do some good damage, if not half, to a lot of leaders out there, and you're not going to lose much at a 4 cost. Last is Plo Koon. Plo Koon is a very interesting unit. He does have ambush, which I like. He's a 5 cost 3/6 Jedi. And he also has Coordinate Raid 3. Now, if you have 2 other units in play, Plo Koon is a great surprise for your opponent because then it ambushes as a 6/6. Pretty solid. Going to definitely take out a few leaders in this set and deal a lot of damage to the ones that can survive. So I think Plo Koon is a good one, and I don't think it's difficult to get this set up in this format. Next is the hero aspect. It's clone troopers all day. When we look at the heroic aspect here, we have a 2-drop 3/2, very vanilla with the phase 1, and I think that's perfect for a couple of turns. The phase 2 clone trooper is a 3/2 with ambush. We've talked about ambush. And the for 4, you can play a drop in to give you 2 clone trooper tokens, which are 2/2 units. So I like all of these because they're really good early cards. They don't feel bad to put out stat wise. They can take out a few droids, no problem, or they can hit something a little bit harder with that 3 damage. Definitely some solid cards to consider. And lastly is going to be our non-aspect cards. Again, non-aspects are always going to be the hardest ones to really find variety in. There are not a lot of them in every set, and some of them are really specific on what they want to do. So the best ones to always look at are Headhunter Squadron because it's a good space unit with a 1/4. It should stay alive a little bit. The Volunteer Soldier, you're in a heavy trooper setting with trooper tokens. So the Volunteer Soldier should only cost you 2 to play, and it's going to have raid 1, so it's a 3/3 for 2. That's just not a bad stat. Lastly, Private Manufacturing, one of my favorite uncommons in the set. It is a 2-cost event that allows you to draw 2 cards. In every game, card advantage matters. So when you're drawing 2 and paying 2, we're going to see how effective that is here in Star Wars. A lot of draw cards haven't been as effective throughout this game, but 2 for 2 is pretty good. And it says if you control no token units, you do have to put 2 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck in any order. Well, I don't mind that either. Filtering out cards isn't bad, but chances are you may have a token in play. So drawing 2 cards for 2 is going to be more valuable. And that is going to be the full set here for Yoda. Again, Yoda has some really unique abilities. He does take a little bit of time to get to, but I know you'll be able to see that in your sealed pre-release. Wish you luck at it. If you end up playing Yoda, make sure you let me know in the comments what legendaries or rares did you find work. I know if I'm able to play Yoda, I will also leave some comments as well. But I wish you luck at your future pre-release or sealed event, and I'll catch you next time. So may the force be with you.